I started doing some of the trees, and I'm using a little small fan brush where the bristles kind of separate, which is great for this is great for making leaves on a watercolor. And I'm started putting the fall colors in here, and starting with the darker colors first and then putting the highlighted ones on top. So we're going to continue with that. Now when it comes to the areas of the trees where there's barely any leaves, it's not so full, you're just going to use the tip and just tap that tip, and it puts the leaves there, but they're sparse. You still see the stem, and that's what you want to see. Same way on the other tree over here. It has some yellow and a little bit of orange, and it's very sparse. And putting that blue and green background just helps for that to stand out and gives you your depth. So we're going to finish up that. Some of these leaves are a little already turned brown, so we're going to have a little bit of brown in there. I'm just using the points of the bristles. I'm doing all the yellows and oranges, and then I'm going to fill in the darker greens in that way. So I'm going to rinse out all that orange out of there, wipe that on the paper towel, and then we'll go in and grab some yellow, really, really, really bright yellow, and then go behind the orange so it gives that kind of muted color. It's kind of a yellowish orange when you mix the two together. Okay, so this is what happens when you put the yellow and then the orange with it. You get this orange and yellow, so it looks like there's, you know, several different colored leaves in there. And that's what we want to do. Where it's gotten a little more dried up leaves, take some of the water out, and we'll take some of this, burnt sienna, and just put in some of those indications of those brown leaves. And of course this one's going to have a little bit of that reddish orange, but right now we're concentrating on the leaves that are just kind of there, and some of them died off. And we need to do that on the other side here too. Just because this is another tree behind it, it's kind of like already lost its color. And this is how you make layers of different kinds of trees. And this one kind of stands out by itself a little bit. But in front of it is this pretty yellow with green tree. So I'm going to put the darker color in first, the dark green. Let's see what color this is. I think that's a purple. I don't want a purple. I want a dark green. Yeah. The less water, the darker the color is going to be. So there's one that's still got a good bit of dark green on it. It's sitting right here. And I'm just using the points of the fan brush. I could make it darker by adding a little bit of brown. I can do that. Give it more of a shadow. But in front of that is a lime green and then a yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush off and then go to this really pretty bright lime color green. Load up that fan brush, and you see how it splinters apart? Well, that's a good thing because that's what we wanted to do. And this tree here had a little green guy in here at the base of it, so that one's in there. And we'll go get some more of this lime green. I didn't add any more water because I want it to be kind of thick, and I'm going to go back and forth and put in my lime green base. Sorry about that. And then kind of swirl it a little bit so it's a little more solid. Like that. I'm going to tickle in my throat. Then I'm going to go back and grab this really bright yellow, lemon yellow, excuse me, not green. Get that same little fan brush. And then do the tips on one side. So now you can see this lime green tree with the yellow and the darker green one behind it. And that's how we're going to do our trees. I got another dark one down here in the front. You always want to put in your darker colors first before you put the light ones in, because you're highlighting the dark ones. So this one actually has a darker spot underneath. I'll make that little dark spot in there. Like that. And then I'm going to go over here because this one's got another tree that kind of like butts up to it. It has dark green. And then there's a dark spot in here, which I'm just going to swish it around a little bit to make it a dark solid spot. And go like that. Across. But this green tree isn't as dark, so we're just going to, whatever paint's left on there, we're going to just go ahead and let it do its thing. And then we'll go get our lime green for the highlight on this tree, because it has a lime green highlights. Now you can make your trees any color you want. I'm just trying to stay, you know, true to the picture that I'm working off of. A little bit more, make this lime green stick out. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of it over in here. Now there's a little tree down here, and I don't know where it came from, but it looks like it's white, almost white. But I think I'm going to make it more in concert with these guys. As you can see, my sky is reflected down in the water now. I did this same thing, just a little bit more water so that it would look kind of washed out. I'm going to put that orange in there. I'm just going to twist it around. Sometimes you can just twist it around and it works. What you want to do. Okay. And then I'm going to take and rinse this out. Put some yellow in that last tree on the far right, because it does have a little yellow spot in here. Just like that. And this is the one we're going to put down front. And have it be the little yellow tree instead of a white tree. It's yellow. Okay. And then there's some light lime green kind of stuck in here. Now this one tree over here is not quite the right shade of green that I like. So I'm going to come over and darken it up with no water, just dark green. And it's kind of like a weeping, I can't even say weeping willow. It's kind of like a weeping willow sort of tree. And then I'll take the points and do the loose leaves around the droopy leaves. Just like that. And then there's this one little bush in the background there. It's showing up. It's got a little bit of yellow tips on it. We'll put its little yellow tips on there. Just like that. And just like that, little yellow tips. And this tree is missing the little sparse orange one, so I'm going to show you how I did that. Rinse the brush off, get most of the water out of it, put it in your brightest, I call it a fluorescent, so like a dark orange. Okay, and it has, and I'm going to use the point corner and do this little cluster here, and then there's another bigger cluster this way. You just kind of like turn it around. Okay, and then comes like this, and just go back and forth, just back and forth, just like that. Okay, and then it's got some of like a brownish yellow color in there, so we're going to do a little bit of the same method. I'm just going to put some brown in here, some of this burnt umber, and bring back out the trunk so you can see it, and a couple of the branches. And just put those spots in there. And that brown in there. And then we're going to highlight it with a little bit of the yellow. So I'm going to rinse that brown out. Throw in that super, super bright yellow. Because with the water, it mutes it so it doesn't get as bright. And we're going to throw that in on the tips, just on the tips of the branches. Okay? Just the tips. Now this little guy back here, he's got brown leaves, like brown and yellow. So I've got yellow, take the brown, same thing, just put it in the tips. It has that funny shaped top, and it has this nice little stem that comes, or trunk. And put some of that over top. Just that little bright green one with the yellow in it. And in there, these two guys need to be separated. What's separating them? Oh, just a little bit of green. So we'll grab a little bit of that darker green, middle of the road green, and just stick it in between, just little dots. You can kind of see where they're separated. See? You can see where there's something in the way. Okay. And then this one down here is going to have to put a little bit of highlight on that. And there you have. There's a nice little fall scene. And it's made with the watercolor. It doesn't have to be real super specific. I mean, we can put all kinds of, like leaves have fallen down off the trees underneath. That's always fun. You just pat it in there. Just like that. And there you got a beautiful little fall scene in watercolor.